2 minutes after takeoff, at 3,000 feet above one of the most crowded cities in the world, both engines go silent. No power, no thrust, no way back. Inside the cockpit, a 57-year-old captain has less than 4 minutes to make a decision that will determine whether 155 people live or die. What happened next would shock the world and forever change aviation history. This is the story of the miracle on the Hudson. January 15, 2009. It was a cold Thursday afternoon in New York. US Airways Flight 1549 was preparing to depart from LaGuardia Airport, heading to Charlotte, North Carolina. On board were 150 passengers and 5 crew members. The aircraft, an Airbus A320, 10 years old, well-maintained, reliable. In the left seat sat Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, 57 years old, a former US Air Force fighter pilot, a safety expert, a man with more than 19,000 hours of flying experience. In the right seat was First Officer Jeffrey Skiles, 49 years old, experienced, calm, and methodical. This was a routine flight. Passengers were reading newspapers, some were checking emails, others were already thinking about meetings, families, dinner plans. No one had any idea that in less than 3 minutes, everything would change. At 3:24 p.m., Flight 1549 began its takeoff roll. The engines roared. The plane lifted smoothly into the winter sky. And for a brief moment, everything was normal. 90 seconds after takeoff, the aircraft climbed through 2,800 feet. Then, suddenly, a loud series of thuds, like cannon fire striking metal. A flock of Canada geese had flown directly into the aircraft's path. Both engines swallowed large birds. Inside the cockpit, the smell of burning, a violent shudder, and then silence. Both engines began losing power. In aviation, losing one engine is serious. Losing both is almost unheard of. The Airbus was now a 70-ton glider over New York City. Captain Sully immediately took control. My aircraft. First Officer Skiles began running emergency checklists, restart attempts, engine relight procedures, but altitude was dropping fast. They had less than 4 minutes before impact. Air traffic control offered a return to LaGuardia, but Sully quickly did the mental math. Too far, too low, too risky. Then another option, Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. Again, distance, glide ratio, altitude loss. Not possible. There was only one option left, and it was unthinkable. Below them stretched Manhattan, skyscrapers, bridges, thousands of people, and to the west, the Hudson River, wide, cold, but clear of buildings. Sully made the decision, one that no simulator had ever truly prepared him for. He told air traffic control calmly, "We're gonna be in the Hudson." No panic in his voice, just clarity. Inside the cabin, passengers noticed the unusual silence. No engine noise, just wind rushing past the fuselage. Flight attendants began shouting, "Brace, brace, heads down, stay down." Some passengers prayed, some froze, some held hands. At 3,000 feet, the aircraft was descending rapidly. Sully had one chance. Too steep, they'd crash. Too shallow, they'd stall. Too fast, the aircraft would break apart on impact. Too slow, they'd fall short. Every second mattered. The Airbus glided over the George Washington Bridge. Drivers below had no idea how close they were to disaster. Then, the Hudson River filled the windshield. Sully aligned perfectly with the water. Wings level, descent controlled. At 3:31 p.m., the aircraft touched the river. A massive splash. Water sprayed high into the air. The impact was violent, but controlled. The plane skipped once, then settled. It did not break apart. It did not flip. It floated. Inside the cabin, There was shock, silence, then movement. "Evacuate! Evacuate!" Water began entering the aircraft. Passengers climbed onto the wings. The temperature of the Hudson River that day was near freezing. Hypothermia could set in within minutes. But then, something extraordinary happened. New York responded. Ferries that normally carried commuters suddenly changed course. Tour boats, police vessels, fire department boats. Within minutes, they surrounded the floating aircraft. Passengers stood shoulder to shoulder on the wings. Some were waist deep in freezing water. One by one, they were pulled to safety. All 155 people survived. No fatalities, no life-threatening injuries. In one of the busiest cities in the world, a powerless jetliner landed on a river, and everyone lived. Captain Sully Sullenberger became a national hero overnight, but he never called it a miracle. He called it training, preparation, experience meeting opportunity. The investigation later confirmed, if he had attempted to return to LaGuardia, the aircraft likely would not have made it. His decision saved 155 lives. The miracle on the Hudson wasn't luck. It was decades of discipline, thousands of flight hours, calm under pressure, and a decision made in less than 4 minutes. Because sometimes aviation history is written not in the sky, but on the water. If you enjoy real aviation documentaries that break down the decisions behind the headlines, subscribe to the channel. Comment below, do you think you could stay calm in those 4 minutes? And tell me which aviation story you want next. Because in aviation, every flight has a story, and some change the world forever. Thanks for watching.